never criticized the Blast. I think it's a great tool. Would I choose one of these over the other? Obviously not, because I'm sick and I'm addicted to multi-tools. I would choose both of them is what I would do. But what do I think is a better tool for the outdoors? It's kind of hard to say. Hello my friends, Late Boy Scout here with my review of the Leatherman Rebar. One of their awesome new tools. This one following their sort of classic look. The classic look not established by, but carried on by tools like the Leatherman Blast and also the Supertool 300. We're going to talk some more about this because many of the features from the Rebar mirror those of the 300, but not entirely mirroring. It's not just a shrunken down version of the 300, and I'll point out some of those details as we go on. First, let's talk about this tool. Now, what you see here is obviously the stainless steel version of it. It does also come in black oxide. That is very nice. I got a thing for black oxide tools. I really do. They just look sweet. Hold on. While I'm doing the black oxide thing, here's the wave in black oxide. Oh man, doesn't that look great? So cool. Something just really attractive about the black oxide in my view. So there's the black oxide one. Just opening that up for you and giving you a look at it. Really, it's the exact same tool. There are no big differences to it, no changes to it. It's not like an EOD version as you might find on the Supertool. The black oxide version of the Supertool is actually an EOD version of the tool with wire crimpers here and a number of other different changes to it along with the the whole complement of tools. This wave is actually an EOD version, sort of. I mean, it's got a crimper here, but the rest of the tools are basically the same. So sometimes you'll find that on the black oxide version, it's really meant as sort of a tactical iteration of the tool. This is just, the only thing that makes it tactical is the fact that it's black oxide. So bear that in mind. Okay, we're going to probably focus mostly on the stainless steel version, but we'll pick this one up interchangeably. One thing I want to point out, since we're talking about the differences between the two, the stainless and the black oxide, the stainless comes with a sheath, this nice leather one. And I do not have a problem with Leatherman's leather sheaths. They do a fine job with them. Made in Mexico. Okay, whatever. How does it fit in there? We might as well show you that while we're at it. Fits like a glove wonderfully. Run your belt through that loop right there. Right there. And wear it all day long in comfort. Okay, and I see folks with Leathermans on their belts exactly like this in these leather sheaths all the time. All the time. Old farmers and whatnot. Carrying those things around. Not even farmers sometimes. So, track record is proven these leather sheaths are great. Nothing to sneeze at. If you decide to pick up the stainless steel version, you're not being shorted in any way by this leather sheath. However, if you pick up the black oxide, here's what you get. A black molly sheath, making it possible for you to attach this to some sort of military type rig. That molly strap. Okay, so that's kind of a cool thing. If you prefer a molly sheath, of course you could probably put this on a belt as well, depending on how you use it. And if you just like nylon and Velcro a little better than a snap, and again if you like the cool black color here of the black oxide version, then this will be your choice. Alright, so we talked about aesthetics pretty much, covering the sheaths, their functionality, and just kind of the looks, and it is a great looking tool. Let's talk about the functions of it. So it does carry over a really cool feature from the Supertool 300, and that being the removable hardwire cutters. Okay, you can take those off with that little star bit there, that Torx bit. Take that off, sharpen those 154 cm cutters right there if you need to, or just buy new ones is really probably what you're going to do. You can buy those from Leatherman and just swap them out. So if you ever sort of destroy your hard wire cutters, cutting something that's a little too hard, swap them out, replace them, you're good to go again. Okay, easy, and that's a great feature, and I love the fact that they did that on the Supertool 300. They also did that on the Mutt, and they'll probably do that on a number of other future tools because it's just a great idea. Next, and it does kind of follow that same look, as far as the plier heads are concerned. Not perfectly, not exactly. It is a somewhat scaled down version of the 300, but the vectors are not perfect and not exactly the same. Okay, you can probably tell that just by looking at it. However, they do have that sort of flare out there. It varies slightly on the rebar, but it is present. Okay, and that's probably just a, once again, I think I said that in my review of the Supertool 300, that flare out there is a way to still have all the material you want while having a recess for that cutter. Okay, that's my belief, my understanding of why that's there. Obviously some nice plier teeth, though not very deep, not a huge amount of them. You can see that there's a big difference there with the Supertool 300. Of course, there's compromises when you go with a smaller tool, and that's what this is. By kind of like a lot. Okay, it's a considerably smaller tool, considerably lighter tool. This is something like, I think I said in my review, 11-ish ounces. I'll correct that in annotation if that's wrong. And this comes in at 6.7 ounces, if I'm not mistaken, not including the sheath. So a big difference in weight. Yeah, you're going to have compromises like fewer teeth, a smaller cavity for grasping nuts and bolts and whatnot. Okay, but of course you've still got some nice, fine needle nose pliers. Those look great. You've got your ruler, and that's a nice feature. And you've got a good selection of interior tools as well. Of course, your ruler is also in centimeters as well as in inches. So let's look at the interior tools. What we have is a nice saw. I love good saws. I love a good saw on a Leatherman. That's one of the important things to me. It really is. And let's look at a couple other saws from a couple other Leathermans. That's a good looking one, and I think it's a good amount of teeth and a good reach. I did a Leatherman saws comparison video, and one of the ones that did fairly well, but got a little bit slowed down. I think my theory is because of the black oxide. Was this one here, the Blast? So you can see just by comparison that the Blast still has more teeth than the rebar does, giving you slightly more capability. All right, good to know. What else have we got on the table? Well, we got that Wave. Let's look at it. So the Wave, I'm guessing, is also going to have more teeth than the rebar, which it does. Not by a lot, but it does have more teeth. All these saws, by the way, feature that clever sort of grind where they grind it down this way first, you know, reducing the stock down this way, and then they grind it back that way again to reduce the stock further so that the actual spine is thinner than the cutting edge, reducing friction to the cutting edge. Makes a lot of sense, really well thought out, good job. Okay, so what else have we got with a saw on it? Well, the Supertool's got a saw. That's not really one that I would ever take into the outdoors, and look at that, it's got a lot of outdoors in the saw still. But we might as well compare the saws while we have them out. And not surprisingly, the Supertool's saw is longer. No problem. It's just going to be what it is. But here's a tool. You know, Supertool, again, I don't think is a real valuable option for outdoor use, unless, you know, it's all you got. But here's an option that I think is a pretty viable one. And it's actually available. You can buy this one. I was going to show you the KF4, but I might as well show you the CS4 because you can actually buy it. And we'll look at that saw in comparison. Now, these juice saws do really well, I think, because of such little mass. The amount of teeth compared to the amount of saw is, you know, it's just a ton of teeth. And so it does really well. It's a slim little saw, and it just flies through the branches. So that's a good little saw on the CS4, making this a very good backpacking, hiking multi-tool, in my opinion. And we'll talk more about that when I get around to my review of it. Don't close your saw, by the way, on your awl. You're just going to dull your saw. Still, I do think that the rebar is a great option for backpacking and hiking. you get a lot of capabilities with it. And let's get into some more of these tools before I get too lost in a tangent. You do have a good knife blade, all right? And that compares pretty favorably. One of the reasons that I think it's better than, say, your Juice CS4 knife blade is simply because it locks. Okay? It does lock, so that's a good thing. And I prefer a locking blade anytime I can get it. And, you know, some of the other ones in the same weight category would be the Blast. The Blast is very much in the same weight category. So let's look at the blade on it. Closing the saw first. There's its blade. And by comparison, it's slightly longer. It is slightly longer, so you get slightly more reach with it. The Blast only adds about 0.2 ounces, coming in at about 6.9 instead of 6.7 to the rebar. So you get slightly more capabilities with those extra ounces. Not a bad design at all. I've never criticized the Blast. I think it's a great tool. Would I choose one of these over the other? Obviously not, because I'm sick and I'm addicted to multi-tools. I would choose both of them is what I would do. But what do I think is a better tool for the outdoors? It's kind of hard to say. It really is. It's difficult to say. You get a lot of good capabilities with the rebar. Mostly, I think you get some great looks with it. You know, that classic Leatherman look. Again, harkening back to Supertool look. You know, the Micra, which I don't have on the table. Some of the old tools like the Pocket Survival Tool, the PST. They've got this same sort of taper down here where the pliers meet the handles. That same kind of look. You know, well, that's, of course, that. The Blast doesn't quite carry that over, but it's very similar. The Wave doesn't have that at all. You know, and of course the Juice tools, here's the KF4, don't have that at all either. So when you're buying this, you're buying it for a lot of good reasons, but one of those is for the looks, because you like that classic look. Back to some of the tools. We keep getting sidetracked, don't we? I'm sorry. They're just fun to talk about, multi-tools. You do have a good serrated blade. I don't use these too often, but it's great to have them for emergency use. And of course, it's got kind of a sheep's foot tip to it for emergency cutting, you know, seatbelts and whatnot. Get that lock undone. And of course, these tools are all locking, and that's a very good thing. And I'll point out a little difference there between it and the Supertool 300, just so you know that it's not a fully, simply scaled down version of the tool. It does have its differences, okay? It is a redesign. It's redesigned, modeled after this look and feel, but it is actually a redesign. It's also contoured really well around these edges for grasping the plier pretty nicely, so that that's actually a pretty comfortable grip. And it should be, I would like it to be, since it's a smaller tool. Smaller, really close in size to the Blast. Let's have a look at that. The bottom to the top, very, very close. Pretty much identical. So you want a nice grip on it, okay? You want that to feel good in your hands, since it is a little bit smaller. The Juices also feel really nice. They're considerably smaller. Something to keep in mind. Back to some of the interior tools. We covered that one. We do have a good can opener. Okay, and this is one of the reasons I think it's a great hiking and backpacking tool. Depending on what your goals are with your backpacking trip, canned food is probably going to enter into it. You know, if you're going to be on an extended trip or whatever, yeah, you're probably going to think about taking some canned food. A lot of it will be dehydrated and stuff, but we won't go into that really. Canned food is just an option for hiking and backpacking, and having a good can opener is going to be necessary. Of course, you've got your Phillips head screwdriver, which is great and mirrors that of the Blast, I'm pretty sure. Not a big difference there. Not really any big difference at all. Both of them perfectly good. Then of course you've got on the other side a selection of flatheads. Two flatheads here, a wider one, a skinnier one, this one with a little more reach, and then of course a little awl, which is also going to be a great outdoors tool, making this a potential backpacking, hiking, potential survival type tool. Okay, Maybe you don't want to drill your little hole in the piece of wood to start your fire or whatever you're going to do with your knife. Okay, maybe you want to save that tip. It's a little delicate. You don't want to bust it. You want to save that for other emergency use. So you get this out, which is a lot thicker, a lot stronger. It's going to withstand that kind of hard abuse much easier. So use this instead. Okay, that's going to be a great tool for that type of work. What else have we got? Down in there, there is a lanyard hole, which is what you see right here on the black oxide version. I would probably use that. I probably would. I have used that here on the blast. I've got one on my wave. Of course, I've got one on both of my juice models that you have here on the table. Yeah, definitely, I would use that lanyard hole. And have we missed anything? Oh, we might have missed the file, which I think is also a great tool for the backpacking role. Being able to, whatever your other tool might be, let's say, I don't know, you bring the multi-tool and then you bring, I don't know, a cold steel SRK. All right, and so you want to be able to maintain this blade in the outdoors, so you've got a good file for that. Right, okay, that makes a lot of sense to me. So a few of these tools that are kind of crucial for outdoor use to me would be the can opener, the saw, the knife. That awl sure doesn't hurt things down there. That awl doesn't hurt things at all. That awl doesn't hurt things at all. Serrated, I probably wouldn't use that except for cutting and maintaining gear. Whatever the case, yeah, definitely a good outdoors tool. Definitely a good handyman's tool. A good everyday kind of a carry tool. Now, if you choose to do the sheath thing on the belt, this is a great option for that. If you choose to have it in your backpack, still a good option. You know, if you choose to have this in your car, perhaps this is part of an emergency car kit. It's a little smaller than I would recommend. I would like to have a larger one. You know, go with the heavyweight tool if it's just going to stay in your car all the time. But if this is going to be one that swaps between staying here and coming with you, again, going on a backpacking trip, you know, like I said, most people aren't sick like me. They don't buy and own a dozen, you know, or more multi-tools. They're just looking for one good one. And this is one good one. The Leatherman Rebar, I think I've talked about it long enough. I appreciate you guys watching. This has been the Late Boy Scout, and that's been my review of this awesome tool. We'll see you guys later.